I mean, he's old, experienced, and we're live.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oof. I got you. That was an intense conversation I interrupted with that button.
We were talking about nothing pleasant.
We're back from the holidays.
It's good to have Alan back in the virtual studio.
Yeah, I traveled. You also traveled. How was your break, Bear? What did you do? Did you get any art done? Not a single thing? Cool, me either.
Over the 2 weeks I was gone, I got no art done.
I would also like to say I got plenty of art done, actually.
I did take, whenever I travel, I like to take some nearly or fully completed sketches with me so I can break them out.
Oh no, I lost him again. He's gone.
Hello?
You're back.
I'm back.
What do you break out your sketches for?
Well, I break out those nearly completed sketches and start working on them in front of family members or other people, and it makes me look like a really dedicated, hardworking artist.
That's a good tactic. I'm going to do that for conventions. Bring a near completed painting or sketch and then finish it on the spot.
It's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Bring a sketchbook that is, mostly full of drawings and just pretend like you're finishing one off. Like, oh yeah, I'm getting my final line on this,
I'm just going to print out some Michelangelo drawings, pass them off as my own.
That's a great idea. No one will know. Half people you encounter don't even know who Michelangelo is.
Yeah, maybe I should pick a lesser known artist. What did you do on your holidays? You traveled?
It was all about family, man.
I think that's important. That's why we took a break. You gotta take time to soak up life. That's what Donato was talking about. You gotta soak up life.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, family is always going to be stressful, but it's part of the experience.
Yeah, it is. I could make a whole painting about how little I like. Or not how little I like, but how... do it, the more of a weight it becomes on your shoulders of like, I'm so tired of being on all the time.
Right.
Because there's this you that like your family knows, and there's the you that wants to sit in your dark apartment or studio and paint.
Yeah, of course. And I actually just had a
We are having a lot of trouble with Bear today.
Oh man, I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay.
Anyway, I had a conversation with my dad over the break, and he was talking about art and the amount of people that make it, and his closing comment was that it takes a really special, really rare person to make a living off of art. And I can totally see that from a parent's perspective, looking at a child that's pursuing art. But looking around at the digital art world now and the work that is allowing people to afford their lives and the volume of artists that are being successful only illustrating or doing art is kind of astounding compared to what it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's weird. I think there's this, and you hit on a good point. I bet tons and tons of people have gone home to their families this Christmas and New Year's, and their families all say the same thing. That's like, wow, good job doing the whole art thing. When really they're like, oh man, you've got like a 1 in 10 chance of succeeding. But the reality, especially now with the internet, is that if you have any business sense, if you have the same business sense as the person selling frames or flowers in your hometown, then you probably have a good chance of making the same amount of money as an artist.
Yeah. As long as you put the same amount of work into it, definitely.
Yeah, there is work into. That's the big theme of the latter half of my 2017 is the realization that technical skill in art only gets you so far, and then it becomes this kind of game of business and I guess self-promotion, really.
Absolutely.
I've seen, I joined the Artist Alley Network, and art is a subjective thing, but it's also very easy to tell whether it. I'm just gonna say it. So if you draw a hand in an art class, or if someone posts a picture of their hand that they drew on the internet, you can pretty immediately know whether or not you can draw a better hand than them. That's objective. But what I'm saying is, I know plenty of people who can't draw or paint as well as I can that are making probably a lot more money doing it.
Right. And I saw a conversation on Facebook the other day where someone was posting about a personal comic cover they made and how much they loved the style. And I'm sure you saw the same post, but they didn't want to pursue that style because they thought the painterly way was the way to go, and that was what was going to make the most money and get them the most work. But just like you're saying in a conversation with Donato, style is irrelevant. It's getting the work out there and the amount of work that you've done and the work you put into it.
Right. Yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah. So, you know, talking to their families, I think that art, I don't know. What do you think family thinks about what you do? You're talking to your dad.
I'm from the get-go when I was a teenager, my dad always said he doesn't understand it and he can't help me in any way as far as advising me or telling me what's going to be best because he's an aerospace and electrical engineer. But he would support me however he could because he's an art lover. We've gone
your internet.
Watched a lot of movies, you know, classic 47 Ronin, The Seven Samurai. Like, he loves art, but he's very much you need to make a living and support your life. This is something that comes later if you make it happen.
Yeah. I think everyone from that era holds that mentality, though, because and further, I'm realizing that we live in a world where you can no longer succeed from hard work alone because jobs are limited and skilled labor is limited. And, you know, if you went into the same degree field that your dad did today, if you were in direct competition with him, you would have a lot harder time getting a job because he's already doing it.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of where that is. No, my parents were kind of the same way. I remember maybe a year after college, they were like, okay. One day they sat me down, they said, okay, you did the art thing. That's what they called it. You did the art thing. You got your degree. Now you can, you know, go back to school and do something that'll make you some money.
Yeah, that's standard parent advice, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone thinks it's a passing phase, and you're like, yeah, but I went and did the thing I was good at, and I got better at it, and now I'm more committed to it. Yeah.
Well, it is a crazy thing that they can't understand, and that's definitely okay. We still have to make a living one way or another, and when push comes to shove, we talked to Josh. He broke out in the tech industry and is now doing finances, and we know a lot of fellow illustrators and artists that do the same. And whether or not it's just supplemental to their artwork or they did it in the beginning and now they're doing art full time, the art has always been the main goal, and the job has just supported it.
Right. Yeah. One day, do you remember if Josh said that art was the main goal? I think he felt relatively comfortable doing his accounting and also doing art. I don't think he would give up the accounting.
I think he's really fortunate to be in a position where he has a desk job that he seems to really enjoy, and he's at least talked excitedly to us about it. And then he can go home and work on art too. That's outstanding.
Yeah. I hope Josh comes to Gen Con.
You're going to Gen Con.
I am. That's been my holidays in the months before it were putting in so many applications to figure out what conventions I'm going to. And if I get into all of the ones that I signed up for, I'm going to be doing more flights this year than I did last year, which is something I said I wouldn't do. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to the conventions. I'm looking forward to diving in and getting my hands dirty. I've got my budgeting figured out. I'm okay at the conventions. I'm ready to learn. I'm not ready to spend another 30 hours of my life on planes.
Well, that's easy because you're going to spend the rest of the time doing work, so it doesn't matter.
And yeah, well, I hope so. I hope that, I'm going to shoot for, I'm saying it here, I'm shooting for painting a week. Painting a week.
Hey, me too, man. I've got 3 going right now, soon to be 4.
Oh, you're going to do 4 paintings a week?
No, 4 at once.
A week?
Not a week, 1 a week, but I'm working on 4 at once.
Nice.
I keep them in rotation, let one dry and get my mind off of it.
You should take a picture of all 4 of them together. That was I liked that picture that you took a senior year where all 4 of your paintings, you were working on them, they were all together. You should do it again. Take a picture.
I will. Take a picture. I'm documenting all of these, and at your suggestion, we'll make a blog post about my own process after seeing you put effort into putting that out.
Oh yeah, go to my website and download some free PSDs. I've started saving my layer. I don't merge my layers anymore, so that people can see my process. Working on some more videos in the works. Go download my stuff. I've been working on a new technique of these gradient maps. Have been really fun. I completed 2 character portraits. I think they were like between 4 and 5 hours each, and they both look pretty good. I'm surprised. Usually something like that would take me a good 10 hours to do, I would say.
Right.
When I was doing character portraits 4 years ago, or even the beginning of last year. And now using the gradient maps, I do my drawing in grayscale, pretty loose, pretty fluid, get all my reference together, do the gradient maps to basically control my palette. And yeah, just go look at my PSDs. You'll get it.
I think anyone that wants to paint, wants to achieve a painterly look digitally, can benefit from looking at those. I did. It's the gradient maps in Photoshop that really change it. I don't think many people use gradient maps like you and Pete do in the painting process.
I should say that I learned all of that from watching Pete. So
definitely, it's all about sharing. That's why he puts it out.
Well, also, I am a huge, I don't know. It's fast, and that's what I want for the series that I'm doing. I committed to a painting. Oh, I was doing the drawings a day, and then I said, I'm not doing justice to any ideas that I'm having. I'm not that person. I'm not a concept artist. I don't want to be a concept artist. So I don't want to do this anymore. And so I started making more finished paintings. Those to get those done in a week, I was pushing myself pretty hard, but I wasn't doing anything special because I had to be so stoic with my reference. It wasn't a lot of time to play. Then I said, if I want to do justice to this and do a painting a week, it needs to be able to be fast. I need to be able to make changes on a dime. And this is just one opportunity to learn how to do that. I don't know if gradient maps will become a valid part of my process, but it's a tool, right? Right now I'm using them to learn. But later on, even if I decide to toss them out for more finished work, this is just a tool that I can use.
Well, that's the great part about Photoshop, is how many tools that it has as a platform. And that's something I've learned as a both digitally and traditionally. I'll say now that I start my paintings with a sketch that I project onto a canvas, and then I sketch my sketch essentially onto the canvas. And at first I was apprehensive about it, like, this is kind of lame. I don't know, but I just washed all that away and said, this is part of my process now, and it's going to ultimately make the painting better. Yeah. And that's how I started approaching Photoshop as well. I mean, there's so many tools you can use to not only speed up the painting process, but get a better effect in the end. And I think a lot of people are apprehensive about jumping onto it because they're scared of, I don't know, being called a cheater or
Yeah,
thinking
there's the pervasive idea of cheating in art and when you're come to creating an image, because when you're learning to paint, you're looking at people like Michelangelo da Vinci, you're looking at people that can do these amazing drawings and paintings. Presumably you're thinking from their head, which they didn't. I'll get into that later. But at its core, you're not creating your patrons, the people that are viewing your art when it's done, they're never going to see the method. And to be honest, the method doesn't matter to them. Yeah, if you told someone, well, Da Vinci traced this, maybe they would start thinking about that because you've changed their conversation, right? You've changed it to the methodology. But when they're looking at the Da Vinci, they're just viewing the finished product. So trying to care about the method or the process that you use to get there, whether it's photo bashing or tracing or using digital tools to supplement your traditional work, it doesn't really matter as long as the image is what you want it to be, if it has your heart in it.
Right, absolutely.
So, but it's easy to feel that, oh, I don't want to be cheating if you're the one doing the process, right? Because it feels a little like it. It's almost like, what's that syndrome imposter syndrome, where you're like, should I be doing this? I don't know.
The only people that will care about the process are other artists, and typically other artists that are under you professionally. Mm-hmm. And I say that out of experience. I look at artists that I really admire and love, and the first thing I think is I want to know their process.
Yeah, because that's how you learn as an artist.
But anyone else just ingesting art, they don't care about the process.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they do. They like to see unfinished work, or they like to see the paint splotches, but because that's just part of the lifestyle that they think you live.
Right.
And if that's part of the process, fine. Show people the process too. So I was looking at The Art of Star Wars, The Last Jedi. I bought that book. It's 250 something pages of sheer beautiful joy, full page art every page. I love it. You should buy it. It's like $30, $20 on Amazon. Everyone go out and buy that book right now. I love Spectrum. Okay, don't buy Spectrum. Buy The Last Jedi. It's better. Anyway, so, no, it's not better. It's equal, but I really enjoyed it. So 50% of the art in that book is photo bashed, the concept art. I would say about 50%, but it's beautifully done. They couldn't have gotten those scenes. It got them there quickly, and what I'm getting at is, look, that movie is breathtaking. It's beautiful, some of the scenes, and those scenes came from people photo bashing. Some of the scenes came from people photo bashing. Some of them came from people using their heads. It just depends on what they used, and it's all gorgeous. You should get it. Look at it. It'll totally change your perspective on digital art, I think.
Yeah, I think if you're not pursuing every available tool and aid and the whole spectrum of it, then you're not trying to advance the art form. Like the first thing the masters did was figure out the camera obscura, right? They said, it sucks drawing this over and over. I need a way to just trace it.
Right.
And that's what they did. So that's what we should be doing now. And just like the professionals did for that book. Who put that book out, by the way? Was that ILM or a group of artists?
I know Industrial Light and Magic did a lot of it. I don't know who published the book.
Okay.
Industrial Light and Magic, the LucasArts hired most of those artists, and then Industrial Light and Magic also hired some of the artists. I'll have to look and see. It's downstairs.
Definitely. No, when I was a kid, working for ILM was my dream.
Yeah.
One day my dad came into my room and said, "Look at this." And he typed in the ILM website, and it had all the CGI work for the Star Trek movies and Star Wars. And oh, man, it killed me.
Yeah, you had to go take a cold shower.
I died on the inside a little bit.
Well, so let's say you're doing a painting and you want to throw some fog in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you now have the option, unless you're painting purely traditionally. And you know what? Even then, doesn't matter because it's going to be viewed on a digital format mostly. Let's say you want to throw some fog in there. You have two choices. You can A, paint the fog, or B, copy-paste a PNG of the fog. into your painting,
Mhm.
and or use some sort of nice brush or 3D thing to get the fog in there. And for each of those, okay, should you bring the photo of the fog in? If the answer that you come to is no, then you have to ask why not. Could it make it easier? Does it get my mood across faster? If if your answer is it doesn't fit with the painting that I'm trying to achieve, that's valid. But if you're trying for realism, probably bring the fog in, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know several painters that will bring in photos and then smudge them out to look like the painting. That's fine.
absolutely.
So,
No,
anyway.
it's funny. Kelsey asked why I got the projector when I initially ordered it, and I told her, I got the idea from some other artists that I've seen, a lot of figure painters that I have followed for a while, use them to get the sketch down and then start painting.
Mm.
And she's blown away that these professional artists were using tactics like that. It's kind of
Right.
funny.
Because you don't, if you're talking to people that are enjoying art, you don't, as a general rule, you don't want to show them what's behind the curtain because you want them. Just so what happened is she had this grandiose idea of what an artist was and could be. And then you broke the glass. You shattered the stained glass. You showed her what was
Well,
behind it.
so look, this is a great way to look at it. Art is a magic where you can sit down and draw a figure, or I can do a painting from a projection like this and finish the whole thing. Either way, and you can show someone how you did it. You can show someone step by step how you performed the trick. And even after that, you can do it again, and that person not only can't perform the trick, but is still amazed by how you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I still think, you want to let people keep their magic of the art. I think if every magician right after doing the trick showed you the trick, it wouldn't be as fun. Only let I put my stuff out there so that people can view it, but really only other artists will care about how I'm doing it. My aunt who enjoys my art or someone I meet at a convention isn't going to go download my PSDs.
No way. But it's the same as you downloaded Pete's PSDs and you saw the whole step-by-step thing, and he's going to put out a painting next week and you're going to think it's great, and you're still not going to be able to create that same image the way he did.
No, but again, I'm learning from it, so that's pretty cool. I think,
Yeah.
If you've got another artist, don't ever try and, if you got an artist asking about your technique, don't try and hide it and make it feel like magic to them because you're not doing them a service. I spent a lot of time trying to hone skills that I really never needed to hone in the first place. That's what innovation is. Innovation is taking what came before you and adding to it. And you can't take what came before you if nobody's telling you, You can't learn how to make, you can't improve on the wheel if Grognak over there isn't going to teach you how to make it. You can't make the axis if
True,
you don't
man.
know how to make the wheel. So.
That's what since Spectrum, that's what I've loved about this community is the willingness of everyone to be open and share.
Right.
Even the One Fantastic Week group, those cats are always going at it about something.
Yeah.
And everyone is super quick and willing to throw down whatever information they can offer from their own process.
Right. Everyone's in it together because it's a learning experience. You want to learn if the guy at the table or the website next to you is making $1,000 more a month. You really want to know why that is because everyone should be making that money, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah. But back to what we said about the family, I think this all goes back to what we've been talking about is people's perceptions of what being an artist is. You talk about your wife being amazed or about your dad saying, I don't know what this is about, or my parents saying, oh, you did this, now go do something serious. And it all goes back to that perception. Everyone's got their own ideas, this mystifying idea of it. And I also think that we are a little bogged down because every city has the fairground artist who's maybe doing some crappy abstract art and trying to sell it on the street, and his hair is blue,
Yes.
and he smells funny.
Always.
That's the one that they're most in common with. You know, my parents aren't sitting around talking to Rothko. They're not hanging out with Rothko, seeing whether he's high or low class, right? But they can go sit and talk to the artists at the Cross Dye Festival in the spring and see some weird people.
Oh yeah, my family has no reference point for what an artist is.
Yeah. I told, I got my sister to start an Etsy shop for her wreaths and flowers that she creates, which you should go to if I had the name for it off the top of my head, which
You're
I
doing
will
good.
once I press a few buttons.
You're doing really good.
And it might be called Fancy Floral Shop, one word, on Etsy. You can go look at it. Emily Griffith, check it out. Anyway, so she started that, and while I was talking to her about why she should create an Etsy shop, her and my brother-in-law were there, and I was running them through some of the numbers that I've heard artists making off of things like Etsy and Patreon and websites, and some artists making over $100,000 a year. And when you say things like that, people instantly stop believing you.
Yeah.
And you could tell they weren't saying it to me, but they didn't believe me. And it was really strange because it's like, but why don't you believe me? It's true. Because they don't have a point of reference. It's like, oh, an artist makes more than me? No, he doesn't. That's not possible. I work at a hospital.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
I don't understand. If I understood it, I'd be rich.
Well, it's I think it's a regional issue because you think any artist that lived in the South moved out of the South.
That's true. Yeah.
So, say you're from New England, you probably have a pretty good reference point for what an artist is and what that life is like.
Yeah, if you are in New York and you're sitting at a bar and this woman comes in and somebody goes, "Hey, that's that artist that had a show at the MoMA," you're like, "Oh, they're rich."
Yeah.
But if you're in Mississippi and someone's like, "Oh, that's the artist that had a show at the Jackson, Mississippi Museum," and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Good for him.
Good for him.
I hope there are a lot of field trips.
We should make fun of artists.
I love making fun of artists.
I
love making fun of myself.
I went to the Andrew Wyeth show.
I'm jealous.
If you're in Seattle, make a trip on a weekday, not a Monday. Museums are closed on Mondays. To go to the Wyeth show, it costs $25 to get in, and it's extremely worth it. 150. I was expecting mostly drawings, but 150 paintings, basically, that you've probably never seen. And they were miraculous. I will probably go again this week, actually.
From the pictures you sent, it was beautiful.
It is beautiful. Don't go on a weekend. It was extremely crowded, and I didn't have any time. But I think I'm going to convince Todd to go back with me, and I'm just going to watch him.
Oh, he definitely needs to go. Has he expressed any interest?
Oh yeah, he said he wants to. I'm gonna convince him to go today or tomorrow. We're gonna go.
God, you should, man. Take that guy.
Is it Tuesday?
I want to know what he says.
He has class today. I bet I can convince him to go after class.
Smart school?
Yeah, I think he has class today. Yeah, he definitely has class today. I'll text him about it. What are we talking about this on the podcast for? Anyway, yeah, the Wyeth show is amazing. Andrew Wyeth. So if you go look at his paintings, he painted an egg tempera using a dry brush method, which using a very so basically what he did is he had the equivalent of a Series 7 Winsor Newton. They're very, very small brushes. He was mixing pigment with egg yolk, egg tempera, and in very, very small brush strokes, just needling in most of his paintings. Sometimes he would use larger washes to do the big areas, but most of his paintings had to be extremely detailed because you're working with egg yolks here. If you use a shit ton of paint and a big brush, you're going to run out of paint really fast. So anyway, you should try it too. Go break an egg yolk and mix some pigment in it.
Yeah, you should definitely play with the materials and methods. I've only seen one Andrew Wyeth painting in person, and the one at the MoMA.
I was looking. So everyone's crowded around this one spot, and I can't really see it. I know it's a wider painting with some grass, and I'm thinking, oh, that's what is it called? Angela's Life or something?
World.
Angela's World or whatever it's called. And of the woman in the grass. And I was like, oh, that's her. And I was going to send you a picture and say, look, she's saved. But she wasn't there. And I know that she's still by that elevator bathroom lobby in the mall.
It's sick because it's such a beautiful painting, and it's based off of a real life person, a woman that I think had polio. And it's, if you haven't seen it, it's a lady laying in the grass at a farmhouse, and she's reaching out towards the house that's probably 100 meters away.
If you type in Andrew Wyeth, she's going to be like the first Google image.
But at the MoMA, they have it. When I went, it was placed immediately by the escalator and the bathroom.
Totally by the bathrooms and the escalator, totally on the third floor, totally away from any gallery.
And it was probably my favorite painting in the entire place.
No one else was looking at it but me.
Everyone just walked. They thought it was just, part of the wall. Like, I'm just going to the bathroom.
It is the biggest. If someone's listening to this, please go save it. You could probably walk out with it. No one would notice. I'm going to do that. Okay, maybe I'm not going to do that.
You're a pro at getting the alarm set off at museums anyway, so.
I did not this time. I expected it, but I didn't get it set off, no matter how close I got. I probably could have touched a Wyeth. I didn't. I didn't want to. And I did see they had a Monet. I went to another section. They had a Monet. They had a Rothko. They had some. What is that guy's name that does all the paint splatters?
Jackson Pollock.
They had a Peter Paul Rubens sketch that was pretty nice. I should.
That's a hell of a collection.
Not really. I would still say the Sam is extremely lacking. Go to the Fry if they're not having an Andrew Wyeth show.
Go to any museum. That's something I currently miss. I envy you for being able to experience all that.
I just like Seattle. Seattle's a nice city for art and enjoying time away from the easel.
Yeah.
Just Seattle, Washington area, you can go out into nature. You can take a drive to the city or to the mountain. It's really diverse. You can talk to a lot of strange and interesting people. I'm gonna go do that today. I'm gonna talk to somebody. I'm gonna paint them. No, so Andrew Wyeth, you were talking about whatever the painting that was, and it turns out there were little vignette stories by every single one of his pieces, and it turns out he really enjoyed painting these kind of depressing scenes. And if you read the stories behind a lot of them, they're all pretty depressing. I went with Sarah, and she was just like, I stopped reading. I couldn't take it anymore.
The paintings are dark. All of them are really dark, even in just the plain portraits.
Right.
That's what's so beautiful about his style, is he managed to capture the beauty in some kind of horrible darkness.
I wish I could quote whether or not he was successful in life. I know he probably didn't have to be. I know he lived on a ranch out there. I don't know if he had to be successful.
His dad was ultra successful, and then his son also became an illustrator.
Yeah, I saw a portrait of his son. Was it Nathan Wyeth?
Insanity.
So
I'll never let my son be a painter.
Yeah, right? That would be terrible. What a try, because then you have to watch them struggle, knowing that they'll constantly fail over and over until they succeed one time. There's this Sam Flegel quote someone posted that I really enjoyed. It was all I want to do is make, but I keep making shitty Sam Flegel paintings. And I always think about that. It's like, yeah, that probably is the heart of everything an artist does. Like, all I want to do is paint like NC or Andrew Wyeth, but all I do is keep making shitty Alan Morris paintings.
I think that's every artist's whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, and then learning to not hold yourself to the standard of your heroes is probably the best way to become a hero.
Yeah, because our heroes suck.
Hey, That's great. Yeah.
Look, we're
What?
talking about these experiences and going out and doing these things in Seattle, man. You are working on these gold star paintings. How is your bar life affecting your painting life?
My
Where are
bar
you
life?
where where are you incorporating these works in your fantasy these experiences in your fantasy works?
You know, with these one-shot stories, so I could actually get into this. So when I was looking at the art of The Last Jedi, something I noticed is like they have this way of turning the camera in their heads that I have really been lacking in my art. And it's not for lack of trying, but like there is, I think, in life this realistic view that we take for granted as boring. You know, if you look to the closest corner of your room, you're thinking, wow, that's pretty boring. I would never want to paint that. But in reality, there's so much information about light and color, architecture, probably nature, if there's a plant, just a ton of different things you can learn. And if somebody were at your back looking at that scene, maybe it's not gorgeous, but you know, actually, in some ways it is because of all the different plays of light and color. So, what I'm getting at is looking at the way they were seeing the world through that lens, and then looking at my own work, and it was very evident what was missing is that realistic lens. I've always had an eye for composition, but what I was doing was creating a composition and not creating a more in-depth world. And it's weird that the way to do that, I think, is really loosening up. To answer your question, after having that sort of realization, I am much more avidly looking at the architecture and lights of things around me when I go out into the city or when I'm walking around or when I'm hanging out with my family, just taking a moment and really soaking in the scene around me, how light is hitting edges, how colors interacting, what I enjoy about those things. Because there's one scene that I really love in The Last Jedi. I'm not going to give it away, but the way that that artist captured it, and I know it was just one piece that really solidified it, of this thing breaking through a wall. uh, in a so I don't want to. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but
It's been out long enough.
Yeah, he's breaking through the wall of a bar, and there's no way that that scene could have come to fruition if it weren't something that that person had already seen and studied and cared about so much. Like you can tell that that artist probably spent a lot of time in some very nice restaurants. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So I've started. So we talked about, you know, Donato and Pete saying like, what do you actually enjoy? What makes you you? And then sitting around, and now when I notice that I enjoy something, I'll take a step back and record it somehow in my brain of what's going on. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so.
It's easier said than done because I think as artists, we're trained to, in our training, it's like, oh, we'll look at the world. But that's easy. Saying that is easy. Doing it in a personal way can be very difficult. What is a tree? Now, what do you like about a tree? Now, what do you want to paint about that tree? I mean, that's what'll keep you going when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, I think that's how you should approach everything when you're in a rut.
Also, I read a quote in my book that I'm on that was nice. It was something very interesting happens to a man when he stops asking, who am I? And starts asking, what am I? And I'm trying to wrap that around. You know, it's probably easy to answer for a lot of people, but I'm trying to get into it. I've been asking who am I too much, and I really need to. I know who I am. You know, I don't have to ask, even if I don't know. There's some part of me that knows. And start asking what creates me. You know, what do I like? I can answer that.
Can you?
Yeah. All I have to do is look around.
I'm exploring the same thing in my work now, I think. It's more of so I listened to a podcast from our favorite James Jean, who even though we've tweeted at 100 times, hasn't joined us. But uh,
I have a Twitter now.
He's talking about ups and downs in his life and the way it played into his work and how he struggled at first getting galleries to represent him or want his work because it changed so drastically year to year. But what he was really doing was just trying to express and understand things that were going on in his life and what he enjoyed. And very similar to what you're talking about. You know what you like, and as you grow it, it's constantly changing. And I'm using these pieces now to kind of explore experiences that have happened in the past year, and then also these images and feelings that I really enjoy and I know I like from what I've experienced in my own life. And it's like the work is just flowing more naturally now. Where before I was thinking, man, what can I paint? What's going to look good?
What's going to look good? Right. What story? What's going to make people react?
Where now I focus on an experience and I think what image is going to be fitting for that, and then I take it on from there.
I think you hit on a good point. Again, something really easy to say is, I'm not going to worry about what people think. I'm going to paint what I want. That's really easy to say. I actually think every art student ever has said it. But in a painting, I've started, when I'm working on things or looking in reference, it's like, or even writing down what I think, where I think the story is going to go, saying, sometimes I'll catch myself saying, yeah, but will people react to that? And it's like, I don't care. I like it. I'm just going to, I made, my New Year's resolution is to only paint what I like. And which sounds really obvious, right? But
yeah,
only paint what you really like. I like gold. I like gold, kind of Arabian architecture. So when I'm designing this palace scene, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to straight copy some Arabian architecture because I love it.
Why not?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, it'll come to me. It doesn't have to come to me. It's just, it's already there, and then it'll bring itself together. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't. There's people like me that like what I like, and they'll support me. That's what patronage is.
Well, that's the great thing, is there's always going to be more people with the same interest as you. And as soon as you nail the communication method down, you'll have that connection.
Yeah.
Communication method just being your style and ability as an artist.
Yeah. Communication. Well, I've always believed art is a method of communication. And sometimes I've been known to say that if you can't drive that communication home, or if you're not viewing art as a means of communication, then you've failed. Well, I would amend that to say, if you're communicating with the people that like the same thing you like and being honest to that, then you're succeeding.
Yeah, so. That should be the ultimate goal, I think. It's nice to have people like your art because they think it's pretty, but it's a whole other thing to have them connect with it and really appreciate it on that level.
Here's an example. You and I both deeply love The Professor Brothers by Brad Neely on YouTube. You guys should go read it. You guys should go watch those. And I have shown those to people, as I'm sure you have too, and they'll be like, that wasn't really funny.
I've hated it.
But I love it. There's things that me and my friends will watch on YouTube that I can never stop laughing at.
Yes.
But other people deeply despise.
Definitely.
And in those, it's weird. So when you like a TV show that someone else doesn't like, that you don't care for Game of Thrones.
No.
And I love it. But when you talk about TV shows, it's like, well, I don't care if Bear doesn't like that. I really love it. So why isn't it the same thing with painting a lot of the time?
It should be.
Should be. I love it. I'll just paint what I want. Screw you, Bear. Screw Bear.
I hate fantasy art.
You love fantasy art.
I just like some of the people involved in it.
You love it. Well, I have been known to dislike some fantasy. I don't like fantasy art for fantasy art's sake. I really used to. And now I'm glad fantasy art's taking a turn to being more personal and really even more abstract. You know, one of the most successful illustrators, Pete Moorbacher, we had him on the show. He's those paintings are not fantasy art. They're just neat.
Yeah, I think you'll find in your realm of illustration, the most successful people are the ones that make the paintings extremely personal works of what is essentially fine art. Like Pete, his work is extremely intimate and personal to his experiences. Donato is exploring something so philosophical and out there that
See, that's
most
what I
people
like.
can't even consider it.
That's what I was just about to say. Is Donato is painting what could be just cookie cutter fantasy art, but because Donato lives and breathes fantasy art, so of course it's true to him, right? The guy, deeply loves Lord of the Rings. It's part of who he is. He's not painting it just because he likes fantasy.
It's his world.
Nick Alm probably loves sitting in hotel rooms with scantily clad women.
He's got a whole nother thing going on.
I love Nick Alm. There was a guy, you've been doing these studies of old movies. I was going to tell you, look up Mitchell Hooks, like Captain Hook.
Mitchell
Hooks did some really outstanding, they posted about him on Muddy Colors today. It is really outstanding, very silhouette oriented paintings. Very nice. Kind of like Robert McGinnis.
I'm looking at him. He did. These are crazy.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of what you're going for. I know you're going for a more like modern idea and almost Tarantino-like take on these things. But yeah, I like some Mitchell Hooks stuff.
No, Mitchell Hooks style is my ideal style. Everyone go look him up.
You should, yeah. So that's pretty neat.
That's my kind of illustration. Oh,
yeah,
they're so happy.
They're one-shot silhouettes that encapsulate an entire scene. That's nice. That's all it is. It's just nice.
That's real nice.
That's nice. I got into it. Sometimes I see things. I don't like to go into comment wars on Facebook. And I don't still, but sometimes I can't keep my mouth shut. And so one thing, I was on Artist Alley Network, and this really blows me through. So there's this big movement of people. So what do people say to you when you're painting? What's their first response in your family or friends?
Well, they love it.
What do they say?
Man, they say they are really impressed with how that looks.
So the go-to that I've found, whether I'm in public or at a convention or showing my family, 9 times out of 10, they say, "Wow, that's so cool. You really have a talent." Right?
Yeah.
God gave you a gift. This is a gift. It's a talent. I'm not that talented. I can barely draw a straight line. So anyway, somebody posted about that, and they're like, I'm so, the holidays, I'm not looking forward to them because everyone says, wow, you're so talented. I can barely draw a straight line. And everyone in the comments was like, well, when people say that to me, I usually come back at them saying, well, this is actually a skill that took me years and years to form. And kind of meeting that idea of, wow, you're so talented, with anger in a way, or antagonism. And it really blew my mind, because it's like, why are you being a douche to people that are complimenting you? I'm sorry they're not using the defining terms that you understand, and now you're blowing them off with this really negative idea.
Yeah, you have people don't understand that as an artist, you're approaching your family and other people with a totally alien idea.
Right. Just because if someone says, wow, you're so talented, no matter what I say in that moment, I'm not going to change their mind about what they believe.
And you are talented. I mean, it's talent.
It is a talent, although talent is considered inherent. But then we're getting into semantics. What they're really saying is, I like what you do. I can't do it. I really enjoy that. It's unique.
Yeah, it's just a simple way to express that.
And you're sitting there like, well, actually, I work very hard at this. And they're like, I didn't say you didn't.
Yeah.
So that's something I wanted to get into. If your family's sitting around, it's okay if you're hanging out with your sister that you're really close to, and you can explain maybe like, well, I do work very hard at it. It's still kind of dickish, but you can do it. You can make them understand. But if a rando person or your aunt or your grandmother is trying to compliment you, please don't wash them away with your negativity.
It's so strange, man. It's even with the close sister or whatever, even a close friend that was trying to express it. Just, it's odd to say, no, I worked really hard for this and I want you to acknowledge that.
Right.
What? That's arrogant.
It's arrogant. Yeah. So the correct response, I don't care if you agree with me or not. The correct response is thank you, please.
Yes. Every time.
I'm sorry. I got on I had to vent about it. That's going to be a pet peeve of mine now. For the love of God, say thank you.
If you can't take a compliment well, how are you going to handle any kind of business matters with professional people?
Right. Yeah. And also, like, people will get angry about other things that people say to them, just the wording that they use. And Don in Mad Men has this one scene where Peggy's like, "You never thank me." And he goes, "That's what the money's for." And I'm so glad that he said that, because now I can say that to people. It's like, well, this person was really rude to me when they bought a print. It's like, that doesn't matter. They were very nice to you. That's what the money's for. They gave you their money.
That's what the money's for. Every time.
Yeah. That's what the money's for.
Business exists.
That runs through my head a lot. It's like, oh, I had someone buy a print and they didn't give me the praise that I thought they would. Yes, they did.
They bought it. That's much better than the 20 people that came by and talked to you for an hour and didn't buy anything.
I have to go on a tangent.
It's okay. What's up? Hello? Hello? Hey. What's up?
Hello?
What's going on, buddy?
I don't know how much of that anyone heard.
None of it.
So I was getting into the idea of, like, we hung out over the holidays. You drove down from Nashville to come get me, and we hung out in Oxford.
Yes.
After I went on a tangent about how Mississippi has the best barbecue. Anyway, so I was getting into the Wolfpack idea, hanging out with outside of conventions where it can be mostly business talk or talking to people over Facebook, making time to go out and enjoy life with friends and other artists. It is incredibly invigorating, more than family even.
That's the rant you went into?
No, it wasn't a rant. I was just talking.
I agree, though.
Well, yeah. You're supposed to agree.
I always agree with what you say. Every time. After Spectrum, I came home and did a month of like 2 or 3 pieces a week.
It's rigorous. Yeah, you do rigorous stuff.
And after hanging out with you and getting accosted by the police, I came home and started 4 different paintings. Every time.
It's invigorating. Part of it is like being away from what you're doing, and the other part, like, I can go spend time with my family and come back exhausted, not wanting to do anything. But if I go spend time with like some other artists or just some friends, I come back really having a good time and wanting to hit the ground running because it's something you really deeply enjoy, and that family can be a commitment. You were committed to go spend time with them during Christmas. But friends, you made time to hang out. We both made time to hang out, and we had a really fantastic time, and we brought that excitement back to the studio.
I find any positive experience, I come home ready to get to work.
Right. So I guess what I should be saying is finding that positive experience. Go out and have positive experiences, not just going out to figure out what you enjoy, but go do things you like.
Yeah, I'd say if you had money to budget for leisure time and you're an artist, then for me personally, we love to go to concerts, and that's one of the most invigorating things for me to come home and work from. And then outside of that, anytime I can get with friends or going and burning down a bar with my wife.
Yeah, I like to bar hop.
And each has every time we go out to a bar, we meet someone that just wants to talk our head off, and that's great because you get all of these experiences and memories from another person without any of the costs. Like, you never have to talk to them again.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think of Louis L'Amour, the Western writer, actually just made his entire prolific career out of writing about characters he had met on the road. Most of the characters you read about in his novels are just people he met. And so most of his writing was just done for him. Most of our paintings are already done for us. So, yeah, I was just getting into leisure time while you were, I guess my internet was the one failing out.
Somebody's, man. We're struggling today, but the Hanging Out podcast is hungover.
Well, from our holidays, we're ripped up.
Dying.
I probably drank more alcohol in the last 3 weeks than I have in the entire year.
Wow, man.
Yeah. I would be willing to say that.
We had a bottle of wine last night, and that's the first time we've drank since we saw you.
Yeah. I'm toning it down. I haven't drank anything really the last few since I've been back. I don't expect to.
Welcome to the Hanging Out podcast. This is the AA episode.
The AA episode. No, we should make an AA episode. We should invite all of our artist friends and just really go through the intervention idea.
Gosh, as long as we can do it in a non-offensive way.
We would just yell at them.
That's fine, I guess. I'm used to it. We did it. First episode of 2018. Morty, oh my gosh.
That wasn't a good Rick impression.
I didn't even try.
Morty. Gotta go. 10 more seasons. 10 more seasons.
We got it, man.
This is season 2.
Season 2 of the Hanging Out podcast. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
What are you looking forward to this year? You got any resolutions?
I have a resolution, and it's to make an artist web forum, and it's going to happen this week probably.
This is why I never need to give you ideas, because you take them and you really run. I have a lot of ideas.
So I jump on it.
You jump. Yeah. I need to. Every time I give you an idea, you really go balls to the wall with it. Like one time we were sitting down and I said, we should really make a podcast.
And here we are.
To my utter disappointment that now I lose an hour every day. Almost.
Well, it's because in college we had all these ideas, but we just kept coming up with more ideas instead of acting on them.
We acted on them one time, and we were so disappointed at the outcome that sometimes our ideas are really a lot of work that we don't want to put in.
This isn't any work. We would have had this phone call anyway.
You never call me.
Why would I?
My resolution is to get back on schedule. I have a lot of scheduling things that are just going. I used to be incredibly meticulous about schedule, and they've been falling off, and I'm just going to nail it to the wall now. I'm tackling it. I'm not letting it go anymore. I'm committed from my personal schedule. If there's more work that needs done in the print shop, I'm cutting it off after an hour. Whatever, I'll get back to it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. If there's, I mean, not losing life and limb or career, but like sticking to my hours and my schedule.
Well, man, we'll hold each other to it. A painting a week.
Painting a week.
2018 is going to be the week of
I'll say a painting every week and a half.
104 paintings.
Okay. Well, I do have conventions to go to and prep for.
Well, you're going to have to work ahead, aren't you?
Fuck.
52 paintings.
If you want to share your New Year's resolutions with us, please feel free to do so. Send us an email if you want to be on the show. If you have any critiques or suggestions about what you want us to talk about, you can find us at hangingoutpodcast@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group, Hanging Out with Baron Allen, on Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud. I think we're Hanging Out Podcast. This is episode 23. I'm Alan Morris, alanmorrisart.com.
I'm Bear Isles, BearIslesArt.com.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We'll see you next week.